The desert stretched endlessly, a sea of fire under the noon sun. Heat shimmered across the dunes, and every step sank into sand that swallowed their footprints. The horizon always looked close, but never came nearer. Diego wiped his cracked lips. His ragged cap barely shielded him from the sun. Beside him, Camilla stumbled, small and fragile, her eyes empty and distant. "Drink this," he said, passing her a nearly empty bottle. She sipped, offering a faint smile, one that tried to believe in hope. The wind carried dust and something metallic. In the distance, engines hummed. Diego froze, pulling Camilla low behind brittle brush. "They'll send us back," she whispered. "Not if we keep moving east. The fence is close. Just a few more miles." 2 days earlier, they'd left the safe house near Nogales. 20 people crammed in an abandoned shack, sharing water, praying not to be found. Diego remembered his mother's voice the night before they left. "You take care of her," she'd said, her voice trembling as if every word was made of glass. "Promise me, Diego, whatever happens, don't stop walking," he had promised. And now every step felt like breaking that promise. Camilla stumbled again. Her knees hit the sand. She didn't cry. She didn't have the energy left for tears. Diego knelt beside her, lifting her gently. Her skin was burning hot, her pulse thin and fast. "Hey," he said, forcing a smile. "Remember what Mama said? The sun always sets, even on the worst days." Camilla blinked slowly, her lashes heavy. "I don't like the sun anymore." "Good," Diego said. "Then it'll be scared of you." It made her laugh, just a little. And for a moment, he forgot about the danger, the heat, the endless sand. He saw his sister again, the girl who once built paper boats and let them float down the irrigation ditches behind their old home. But that home was gone now, burned. He could still see the night it happened. Men shouting, the flash of gunfire, his mother pushing them out the back door. The smell of gasoline and smoke, the way she screamed his name as the flames swallowed the house. Now, the world around them was silent. Too silent. Even the wind seemed afraid to move. By late afternoon, the sky turned from gold to copper. Shadows stretched long and the desert began to cool, but not enough to breathe easy. Their feet left trails of blood from cracked soles. Diego's thoughts drifted to stories he'd heard about this place. The desert graves, nameless bodies found curled beneath mesquite trees, wallets full of photos that never reached the other side. He tried to push the thoughts away. They were different. They had each other. They had a reason. As the sun sank lower, a gust of wind whipped across the sand, lifting dust into their eyes. Diego shielded Camilla, pulling her close. She whispered, "Do you think we'll make it, Diego?" He hesitated, just long enough for her to notice. Then he nodded. "We'll make it. We didn't come this far to die here." But even as he said it, the wind carried another sound. A faint thud, thud, thud overhead. He looked up and saw the outline of a helicopter crossing the sky, low and slow. Its searchlights swept the ground in wide arcs. "Run!" Diego hissed, grabbing Camilla's hand. They bolted toward the nearest ridge, lungs burning, sand swallowing their feet. The light passed within yards of them, close enough for Diego to see the glare reflect off the bottle, hanging from his belt. He threw it aside. They reached the ridge and collapsed behind a cluster of rocks. The helicopter circled once, twice, then faded into the distance. For a moment, neither of them spoke, just the sound of breathing, harsh, uneven, alive. Camilla looked at him, her eyes wide and frightened. "They almost saw us." "I know." He turned his gaze toward the darkening horizon, where the sky bled red and violet over the distant mountains. "We just have to make it through tonight." He didn't know what waited for them beyond that border. Maybe freedom, maybe another kind of cage. But as the sun disappeared behind the dunes and the desert turned cold, one truth burned in his chest like a dying ember. If they catch us, we'll never see tomorrow. Morning came without color. A pale, ghostly light spread across the dunes, soft and cruel, revealing what the darkness had hidden. Cracked earth, wind-blown bones, and the long, lonely trail of their footprints disappearing into nothing. Diego rose stiffly, his back screaming in pain. Every muscle ached. Every joint felt carved from stone. The desert had stripped him of everything human: sweat, tears, fear, leaving only a will to move. He looked over at Camilla, curled beside him under a torn blanket, her face covered in dust. Her lips were pale, her breath shallow. He shook her gently. "Camilla, hey, wake up." She didn't stir. Panic clawed at his throat. "Camilla!" Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused, her voice barely a whisper. "I was dreaming, Diego. About home. Mama was making tamales, and you were playing soccer in the street. It smelled like rain." Diego's chest tightened. He forced a smile. "Then you better wake up before she eats them all." That made her smile, faintly, and he helped her sit up. The wind howled low across the flats, stirring sand into their faces. He squinted toward the east. The sun had barely risen, but already the air felt heavy, the promise of another merciless day pressing down on them. He checked their bag. One piece of bread, hard as stone. No water. He tore the bread in half, handed her the larger piece. "Eat slow," Camilla obeyed, nibbling at it like a bird. "We'll find water today, right?" "Yeah," Diego lied. "There's a river ahead." There was no river, just the endless desert. They walked. The horizon shimmered with heat. The sand glowed white, then gold, then white again. Blinding, endless, indifferent. Time lost meaning. The sun burned away the hours until only pain remained. Camilla stumbled often now, her small legs trembling. Diego carried her when he could, her head resting against his shoulder, her breath hot against his neck. His own throat felt like it was filled with needles. Every swallow hurt. His tongue was dry as leather. A few vultures circled overhead, black specks against the blazing sky, watching, waiting. He tried not to think about what they were waiting for. By midday, the heat became unbearable. The soles of Diego's sneakers were melting. He searched for shade, but found only a few scraggly cacti and a broken fence post, the ghost of some forgotten border. They collapsed beneath it. Camilla's eyes were half closed. "Diego, I can't feel my feet." He took her shoes off. Her socks were stiff with blood. He bit his lip to stop himself from cursing. Rest, just rest. He looked at the sky. A dark smear of clouds was forming far off to the west. Not rain, but a sandstorm. He knew what that meant. The desert would soon turn into a storm of knives. They had maybe an hour to find shelter. He pulled Camilla up again. "We have to move." "But you said we could rest." "I know." I lied. His tone was rougher than he meant. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't argue. She trusted him, even when the truth hurt. Especially then, the wind grew stronger. Grains of sand whipped into their faces. The air turned yellow, thick, choking. The storm was moving faster than he'd expected. A wall of dust and fury rolling toward them like a living thing. "Camilla, hold my hand. Don't let go." They ran, or tried to. The wind howled so loud it swallowed their voices. The world vanished in a blur of swirling sand. Diego could barely see his own hands. He felt Camilla's grip tighten, then slip. "Camilla!" No answer, only the scream of the wind. He stumbled forward, blindly, calling her name again and again, his voice breaking. Something sharp cut across his cheek, debris flying through the storm. He dropped to his knees, crawling, searching the ground with trembling hands. Then, a faint sound. A sob. He crawled toward it, dragging himself through the sand. There she was, huddled behind a rock, her arms over her head. He pulled her close, wrapping his body around hers, shielding her as the storm tore across the desert. They stayed that way for what felt like hours. The world reduced to noise, wind, and pain. When the storm finally passed, silence returned. The desert was transformed. Dunes shifted, trails erased. The world made strange again. Camilla was shaking uncontrollably. Her face was streaked with dust and tears. Diego held her, whispering, "It's over. It's over. You're okay." But his heart said something else. They were lost now. Completely. As night fell, the temperature plummeted. The desert turned from fire to ice. Diego gathered a few dry twigs and lit a small fire with the matchbook he'd carried since Nogales. It barely burned, but it was enough for light. Camilla sat beside him, silent, clutching their mother's rosary. The only thing they had left. She looked up at the stars, whispering, "Do you think Mama can see us?" Diego followed her gaze. The sky was endless, scattered with cold stars. "Yeah," he said softly, "and she's probably yelling at me for not giving you her jacket." Camilla smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hurt to see. They sat there in silence for a long time. The fire crackled weakly, fighting the cold. Then, in the distance, a sound. Faint, rhythmic. Footsteps. Diego froze. The firelight flickered across the sand, and in its dying glow he thought he saw a shadow move. Tall, human, dragging something behind it. He grabbed Camilla's hand. "Stay here." Diego scanned the darkness. A figure moved closer, deliberate. "Who's there?" He called, voice hoarse. Only sand crunched under heavy boots. "I'm not here to hurt you," came a low, tired voice. A man emerged, scarfed, sun-bleached, carrying a pack and a water canteen. Camilla's eyes widened. "Water? You two shouldn't be out here alone." "You'll never make it," he said. Diego tensed. "You can be safe if you come with me," the man added, kneeling by the fire. Diego gripped a rock. The man smiled faintly. "You can trust me. Name's Raphael." Diego noticed a metal bracelet glinting on his wrist, the kind border runners wore when caught and released. Camilla drank greedily from the canteen he handed her, tears running down her face. Raphael's eyes were calm. "Too calm. The desert eats the weak, boy. But follow me. Maybe it'll spare you," a part of Diego wanted to believe. A bigger part whispered, "Don't." That night, after the sandstorm, the desert was unnaturally still. Raphael sharpened a knife by the fire. Each scrape made Diego's stomach twist. "You came from Nogales?" "Yeah." "You were with a coyote?" "No, alone." A smirk. "Brave. Or stupid." Raphael noticed Camilla's blistered feet and tore a strip from his shirt to wrap them. "Kids don't belong out here." Diego's defenses softened. "Neither do we," he said quietly. "Maybe not," Raphael replied, eyes unreadable. "But sometimes the desert's the only road left." The next morning, they followed distant mountains. Raphael led confidently, knowing where shade hid, which cacti held water, where snakes lay. Diego hated that he was grateful. Something about Raphael gnawed at him. His stories, polished, rehearsed, never added up. He claimed a daughter, lost on a crossing, but couldn't recall her name when Camilla asked. That night, Diego woke to him, whispering into a radio. Two of them, brother and sister. Southridge. Diego's blood froze. At dawn, Camilla could barely stand. "I can't, Diego. My legs." Raphael caught up easily. "You trying to ditch me, kid?" Diego clenched his jaw. "We're going our own way." Raphael pointed east. "Fine. Lead if you want. Stick close to the hills. Patrols run the flats in the morning." By midday, rotten diesel stank from a ruined camp. Burned tents, scattered backpacks, a lone shoe, a torn ID. "Patrol," Camilla whispered. "Or smugglers turning on their own," Raphael said. "I was with them once. Money was good. Then, one night, the patrol came. Everyone scattered. I've been walking ever since." Diego's heart thundered. "So you were a smuggler?" Raphael met his glare. "Was. And that radio?" "Old habits." Diego took Camilla's hand. "We're leaving." Raphael warned. "Too late. You'll die out there." The wind rose, a storm building. Sand clawed at their faces, choking the air. "Camilla!" Diego shouted, pulling her close. Another voice cut through. This way! Raphael.instinct said no, but Camilla went limp in his arms. He followed. They found shelter in a dry arroyo. Raphael tied a tarp across the rocks. Camilla lay still, burning with fever. She's burning up, Diego said. Raphael pulled a vial of water from his pack. Give her this. It was barely enough to wet her lips, but she stirred. Mama! Diego brushed her hair back. I'm here, Cammy. Hours passed before the storm eased. That's when Diego saw the blood on Raphael's arm, a deep gash. You'll bleed out, Diego said. Raphael smiled weakly. Maybe I deserve to. He handed over a torn map. Follow the canyon to the wind turbines. You'll see lights. That's your road. Why help us? Raphael looked at Camila. Because once someone helped me. I didn't deserve it either. By sunrise, he was gone. Diego buried him beneath stones. Camilla placed her mother's rosary on top and whispered, For your daughter. When they left, the wind buried the grave, erasing the man as if he'd never existed. For 2 days, Diego and Camilla walked, exhausted and bleeding, their world reduced to pain and motion. On the third morning, the border fence shimmered on the horizon. Then engines roared. Run! Diego shouted. Camilla fell. He pulled her up. A spotlight hit them. Chaos erupted. Hands grabbed him, lifting Camilla away. Diego! She cried. Her fingers slipped from his grasp. A year later, Diego washed dishes in a shelter. Children's laughter filled the halls. Every evening he tended the garden, where a cactus held a rosary, a tribute to those lost in the desert. Camilla joined him, smiling. Do you think Mama knows we made it? Diego watched the rosary swing in the wind. She knows. The border hadn't ended their story. It had begun the part worth surviving.